Hello out there. This is Jeff from El Jefe Podcast AZ. Today's subject we are going to talk about is going to be the music scene as in Scottsdale and Tempe in the 90's to the 2000's. It was pretty impressive back in those days where even for Arizona was pretty intense, good stuff. You can plan your whole week to go out every night and catch a great band that was up and coming. That was definitely one of the cooler things. And we were just starting to kind of get more of those college bands that kind of made it and stuff like that. I remember seeing the Gin Blossoms at Gibson's in Tempe. We all remember Gibson's and Boogie Nights on Sundays when you come back from summer from college. And Long Ones was a cool little venue, like small, and you'd had Gin Blossoms there, Chadwick's, and it's some other stuff too, kind of just not at the top of my head. But Walt Richardson, I still see around every now and then, so it's kind of cool to get to know him through the years. But there's some pretty cool stuff back in those days. Would definitely say, I mean, with the restaurant business, I was running my family's restaurant business in the '90's right there, and it was Scottsdale was up and coming, just starting to really kind of explode. And Tempe was already there with the kind of the music scene. I mean, the clubs that started where the bands would play and the bars were low key and just really good times. I mean, I remember you can go out on a Thursday and I'd see the refreshments when they weren't even big yet, and just catch a show at a bar with some decent, discount price beer, and it was phenomenal. It was just unbelievable. And I mean, you even had your other places like Anderson's Fifth Estate, which would kind of do the '90's, '80's retro, where they would just kind of like have DJs that spin in '80's songs and '90's songs. So what was hot in the radio back then, which to me was pretty good music. I mean, definitely I grew up in that time, but I mean, you sit there and just get a group of friends together and just have so much fun, just drinking, and you would be kind of goofy. You'd be dancing out the dance floor, you know. So I would not like to see any video of those days. Definitely no. Or even like the '80's and what we all like dressed like. But I thought it was kind of cool. I would just wear jeans and a dress shirt and probably some slip-on brown driving shoes. Like that. That would be my kind of call. Um, as a young kid, I kind of grew up seeing shows of punk rock bands. There was a place on 7th Avenue in Camelback. God, I forget the name of it, but that's where most of the punk rock shows would be. And you got to know some people and became friends and stuff like that, and go to shows and be like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" Kind of that kind of stuff. I would, my brother would have like the mohawk. And literally had to iron his hair with like egg whites so I can get that mohawk out going for him. And I had like the Ramon shag, the Ramon kind of hanging hairdo with our leather jackets with pins and chains all over it, and some mural in the back painted on it. But kind of grew out of that phase, and started working for my family. And then in the '90's, I mean, late '80's, '90's, where music really kind of was cool. Like talking about the Gin Blossoms, I'd work at my family's place called the Teepee Mexican Food, which my grandfather started in the '50's. So I mean, it's been around for years. What is it? Look, it started out for years, and we'd have bands like the Gin Blossoms would come in. I mean, they liked our food and the margaritas. So then there was another band we used to love, which I just found out a good buddy of mine was one of the drummers in that band, which I did not know. I knew the lead singer was Bud, and the guitarist was I forget what his name, but he was ended up being the lead guitarist for the refreshments, Mr. Blush. That guy was a cool guy, man. I remember meeting him a couple times. The guy's phenomenal on the guitar, though. Wow. Then we had the refreshments. God, I mean, just crazy amounts of bad. And then there was the other ones like I go to clubs and I go see them, and it'd be Tim from Rock Lobster and Michelle from Shirley's Temple. Michelle, I love you by the way, and you and Tim too. You guys were awesome people. I remember I'd go into God, what was the name of it? Scottsdale, and I would see Shirley's Temple playing, and she'd like, she'd bust out a, "Hey, I'd like to say hi to Jeff Khalid from the teepee that's here tonight, seeing us." I'm like, "Ooh, that's kind of cool. I got a shout out from one of my favorite bands." I'm like, "Wow." So that was, I mean, cool time, cool vibes. That's when the Phoenix Open was, I thought, was the best because you just had a badge that said teepee on it, because we were sponsors, and you had like two or three badges, and if you lost that badge, you were fucking screwed. You literally have to beg a Thunderbird to get another badge or get in, which we had quite a few of them that came in the teepee, so it was pretty nice and easy and fun. But okay, so we go see. There's a place. Remember, we all know where Big Surf is from. If you're from Arizona or Phoenix, especially, there was a place called, God, I forget the name of it, but I used to go see the Ritual play there all the time. And that was like I was in high school, and I did the old DMV with somebody's birth certificate and got a real like driver's license. So I was legit with a picture on it. And I mean, I'm in high school. I'm like a sophomore, almost going in my junior year, and I'm going to fucking like bars at night. You see these bands play, and I don't know anybody. It's all college crowd, and we knew a few buddies of ours, were older brothers were at HU and stuff like that, but didn't know much. But we ended up getting to know the band, and they would just, we'd just sit and have drinks with them. They were cool. Everybody was cool, and upcoming, and just they wanted to get their name out, and they were friendly as heck, and so that was really fun times. I remember Martini Ranch when it first opened up. That used to be a huge one. God, remember all this? Like, there were bands, I mean, clubs in Scottsdale where, like, I go see As Is too. As Is was a good friends of mine. Love them. God, these bands. I forget there was like family bars that would they be at. Where the old Anderson's Fifth Estate was turned into a place where I'd go catch Ritual play there. They were a really cool family kind of, daughter be bartending and all that kinds like that. If any of you guys can remember these places, please get back to me on a email, and I will throw you a good tag in one of my episodes. It's Killeen, KILLEEN 12 at Gmail. But oh god, those were great times. Let's see. I remember Gibson's going to see Matt Ingstrom over there, and I'd be back from summer because I was going to U of A, and see the. I would catch Rock Lobster would be there, Shirley's Temple, Jim Blossom's shows would be there, and the name of that disco band. Oh my God, Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights and Mr. Cool Whip on guitar with a big old afro. That was phenomenal. And me and my buddies would go there and we just chase these ASU girls or like girls we went to U of A with. Those Sunday nights would turn into like 2, 3 in the morning because you're on summer break, and my parents would be like, "Get out of fucking bed, Jesus Christ, God," because we'd just be coming in just late, sleeping all day basically. But the life of a college student, it was fun. I remember some other clubs, Kamikaze Coast. God, I used to love Kamikaze. I used to see the Janis Joplin lady that sang just like Janis Joplin. Another one, if you get that, if you can remember her, Colleen Callahan. Colleen Callahan and the Smoke. Oh, that was a great man. That chick just had some major pipes. Let's see, Chocaderos. Chocaderos was a cool little hip joint. Those were these were just good groups where you go out with all your buddies and go invade and have some fun. Kind of not like that. Like it's more club in Scottsdale now. I'm like, Craig's was another place we'd go see bands. I'd see some like really kind of bands starting out. Good friend of mine, John Knurk, would have a band that would we followed at U of A that would play there in the summertime. Um, Bands that were out that were huge that year, like those time, but Sublime was pretty big. That dub, like, just kind of threw everybody. You're like, whoa, this is cool. But they didn't come from here, so. But I mean, I would catch like Rock Lobster or Shirley's Temple would literally be at weddings. Like, a friend would get married and that band would be booked, and you'd be like, oh, I am stoked. I am going to be dancing and partying at this wedding. I just saw Rock Lobster at a condo, but they played at the pool. And that was fun because they had a full bar, just whatever you needed. And I probably danced quite a bit that night. Just those 80s songs kind of bring me back, and it's kind of fun. I remember I was sore as shit the next day from dancing. I was like, God, I couldn't get out of bed. But that scene was pretty fun back in those days. And I want to give a shout out again to my friends at the Gin Blossoms, Rich Wool. Loved you guys. Refreshments. You guys were the bomb. Rock Lobster. Tim with Rock Lobster and Michelle with Shirley's Temple. They were fucking rock. That chick would be on a bar just when I touch myself, that song, and be a pretty erotic show. I'm like, damn, dude, she's got a groove on today. But those were fun times. And I miss those, but I'm gonna give some shout outs to my to this video when I upload it to YouTube. But please, yeah, definitely check out my YouTube at El Jefe Radio. I mean, El Jefe podcast AZ, podcast, podcast AZ, and give me some comments and all that. And you can still catch my podcast, which I'm going to throw on this one on Apple Podcasts, and Spotify is definitely my two bigger deals. Leave me some comments on that would be great. Just trying to kind of get myself built up, which I kind of want to own the Phoenix, Arcadia area when it comes to podcasting, because I grew up here and I know a lot of people in the business. So I'll have some business owners on here, like bars that we all know, like Coach House, Patty's. These are all bars of, like Old Town Scottsdale legends. And some few more Karstens. I love the guys that own the Karstens, which is probably the most badass food around. Just kind of stay with me and keep checking. I love you guys, and anything you can do, anything you want from me, clean12 at Gmail. Or if you got some ideas for me to meet somebody that like kind of like the same deal, or up and coming guy in Phoenix, Arcadia area, definitely hit me up. I love to check out some. I love meeting new people and meeting up with them and getting their word out and listening to the funny stories and what advice they can give to my audience. It's just unbelievable. But thanks to that, I appreciate it. You guys all have fun and stay tuned. Later.